Hyvää huomenta kaikki. Good morning everybody. I came by ferry and of course we know all that the eating habits between Tallinn and Helsinki are not optimal. Another story, a Sunday morning with a teenage daughter. She had a lot of criticism towards me. I had wrong clothes, my hair was too grey, a lot of mistakes I made as just being her mother. When brushing my teeth late in the evening, she had watched a nutrition program and she came to tell me that, "Mother, one thing we do right, we eat really healthy." And that saved my life, my day. Another thing about teenage boys, I went to a family birthday party with my sister, who is a nutritionist. Her 14-year-old boy son had to send her a WhatsApp message to show that he ate salad for lunch, not 6 donuts as he sometimes did. And my sister keeps finding some donuts in his cupboard and is furious, of course, about this issue. But this is what life is. Baltic Region Health Cities Association is a World Health Organization collaborating center, and we cooperate quite a lot with Estonians in health promoting projects. Actually, one project just started yesterday, and it has Rakvere College as a partner, Jurmala City, University of Turku. It tells about empowering kids and empowering families and doing a daily rhythm optimal for health promotion. But you will hear more about this project. It has only started now. I will tell about some food trends, then about nutrition in life course, and then also, because we work with cities and municipalities, what they can do to promote good health and good nutrition. Urbanization, of course, is a trend in all of Europe. This countryside photo is not reality for most of us anymore, which means, of course, that we are not walking or bicycling. We are taking cars to everywhere. We are even taking our children by car to their sports hobbies. And this is, of course, the most stupid thing we can do. There is good public transport in many cities. We are spending our days sitting at the offices and having really little physical exercise. Our self-control is quite bad. Why do we consume this amount of sugar, this amount of unhealthy food? I took my dog to veterinarian vaccinations last week, and my dog was overweight. So this is what our society does to us. We are overweight ourselves, our children are overweight, even our pets are overweight. Nutrition trends in Northern Europe partly are going into good direction. So we are eating healthier, we are eating more vegetables, we are eating whole grain bread and porridge and so on. But then there are, of course, all kinds of nutritional trends which might not be so healthy. Nutrition is an issue where anybody can call herself or himself an expert. And ordinary people follow funny diets because they think that they are good for their health. In Finland, it has been a real discussion who is the expert who can give advice on nutrition. And this is an issue where we have to take into use also modern social media and communication, and we have to be able to respond to people's expectations, and the experts have to come from their iron tower to comment on trends which are not so healthy. There are, of course, some really fascinating habits happening in the whole world. 70% of people eat insects as part of their daily life. I'm not sure if it comes to to our countries. In Finland, there are already some trendy young people who are growing their own insects to their food. And of course, there is then also a lot of talk about putting emphasis on food wastage. And for example, some Finnish schools are inviting, after the school children have had their lunch, they are inviting, if there is food left, elderly people or unemployed people or people whose life situation is not so good, they can come to eat what is left from the school meals with €1 only. And this kind of trend is, of course, really, I mean, it's sustainable. We have the new Sustainable Development Goals, and it's wise also for everybody. Then there is, of course, the habit of offering due date, out-of-date foods at a cheaper price, and so on. My son is an exchange student in America. He comes home in 2 weeks. He had been in America 2 weeks, and the family had a grill party. We were really excited to ask, what kind of grill party? What did you eat? He said, don't ask about the eating. He was so horrified of the snack culture and didn't get any meat soup or anything ordinary. This is hopefully not coming to our northern countries. Food is quite fashionable. So, and there are surveys saying that the one thing defining a successful life for children is that the more families eat together, the more often they eat together, the more successful their children will be. And of course, eating together is a cultural issue. It's an issue where we show respect and we can exchange what happened during our day. And it's really an issue which we shouldn't forget. Finland will turn 100 years next year, and there is quite a lot of things happening. Our two countries' histories, of course, is very different, but one theme what we want to raise next year in Finland is eating together. The whole theme is together Finland 100, and one of the issues is that we hope to bring back this habit. We are one of the worst countries in Europe in spending meals together, daily meals, families, children, and their parents. Baking, of course, is an issue which you can do with children, and you can enjoy having an activity at home. You don't have to have expensive hobbies always. And of course, ordinary life is the place where we should promote our health. We have a Finnish medical doctor who talks about the 80-20 rule, but that we have extended our 80-20 rule. If a weekend starts on Friday, and if we start to eat pizza and Coca-Cola on a Friday evening and continue that until Sunday evening, that's more than 20%. We should really remember that there are parties, and there is school ending party this weekend in Finland. There are parties when you can enjoy pleasant, perhaps a bit unhealthier food, but then the ordinary life, the ordinary days, working days, are the ones which matter. And of course, we know all these things. There have to be fruits, there have to be whole grain, vegetable oils. Fish is in many families a real challenge to eat, to get the fish quota, and low-fat milk and water. We don't need apple juice so much than we drink, and so on. So it's things which we know. New potatoes, fresh potatoes are now coming to the marketplaces and shops. Nutrition, of course, then in the life course, there are situations when one has to be extra careful with nutrition. If a young couple becomes a couple, they move together, they may have a child. Building a family is a situation where hopefully your nutritional habits are good. But it depends on you, of course, that do you take the time? I mean, we pretend to be very busy, but how can we be so busy that we don't have time to purchase good food and to cook together? Students live to their own home. Student meal is one option. There has to be a healthy option for student meals, and our students, when they leave home, they have to know that macaroni and minced meat is not the only option for their evening meal. Of course, then working day meals working places should offer the possibility for a healthy option during the day, and it's a pleasant break also during the day. Then there are jobs where you are traveling a lot or you work in shifts. I took the 3:30 bus from Turku this morning. I had a carrot and an apple with me, but I had to plan for that. I had to remember to take them so that I wouldn't buy a beer on the Tallink ferry. Aging and widowing are also life situations where you have to be careful. It may be that there is a couple and the wife or the husband did all the cooking and suddenly you become a widow. Who cooks for you? What do you eat? It's a real danger that your habits are not sustaining as healthy as they used to be. And of course then also care homes. Care home meals have to be healthy, but they have to be also pleasant because we are talking about the last years of their life. And there is a lot of talk about immigration to some of the Scandinavian countries, and somebody has asked that who should be afraid? We are welcoming immigrants here to countries where we drink too much alcohol, where we eat unhealthy. Perhaps it's actually the immigrants who should be afraid of our bad habits which we have. There is a word in the same pyramid in Finnish for the very top, and it's a very good word actually. It's sattumat. It means things which you eat rarely. It's not part of your ordinary life, but it's things which you can eat every now and then. And I recommend you to use the same word in Estonian. I don't know how it could be translated, but to remember this, that there is the base and the things which you have to eat, and then there are occasions when you can have something unhealthy too. What can cities and communities do then? There are quite a lot of obesity programs in Finnish cities at the moment. For example, city of Seinäjoki has trained not just health experts, but all politicians, all like city leaders, that they understand what effect nutrition has. Nutrition is an issue where everybody has an opinion, but it's an issue where we need training for everybody, not just the experts themselves. Obesity programs, of course, you have to plan to have obesity as a target in municipal work. And there was an obesity program in Finland, and they made checklists for different players. This is the part of the checklist for the city and municipal people about preventing obesity. And I think the questions are quite clever. Is there a city plan which mentions obesity prevention? Is it a strategic target? And do we know what kind of obesity situation there is in our local community? What does early childhood education mean in our preschool, schools and workplaces? What are our plans in that? Is there expertise in nutrition for children and young people in our local communities? And do we take into account the whole family when we consider children's health checks? It's not just about the child, but it's about the asking also the mother, and there are also good tools, there are good games where you can, I mean, it's easier to look at the game and to check that, would there be something we need to do better? Should we eat more vegetables? Should we eat less very sugar-containing quarks or whatever? So there are good tools also available. Are nutritional criteria used when food suppliers for the city are chosen? They can be if they are thought about. And is physical activity promoted in all the work of the cities? And because these two link together, of course. The amount of calories we eat, the amount of calories we consume, and physical activity, daily physical activity is, of course, really important here. Is there cooperation with industry? And I mean, cities can ban chocolate selling automats in schools if they want. So it's always a choice what you do. Finnish schools and Finnish municipalities have done quite a lot of food education for children, for preschool children. And it's a French method called Sapere, and Functional Food Forum in our local university has organized this kind of sensory clubs. And because food, of course, is not just getting the energy, it's a lot about the visual issues, it's about the smell, about the touch, about the hearing, about the taste. And we know that it takes really consequent tastings before you really get to like a food which you originally didn't like. And this is the responsibility of the families to serve those 10 times broccoli, and then the child will learn that. I remember that my children were small, and I learned in a newspaper about the Belgian parents, and they had a habit of not, if the child didn't like the meal what was served at home, there was no apple, there was no yogurt, there was no porridge 1 hour after the meal. The child had to become hungry before the first meal was served. And these kind of things are quite clever. This is what you chose to be eaten. If the child doesn't want, perhaps next time he or she eats more eagerly if she knows that there is no chocolate bar in between before the next meal. They have organized cooking classes to children, and it has been a lot of collaboration with families and communities, and also exploring the origin of food, where it comes from, and the seasonal issues were mentioned earlier today. There are these challenges which we heard of earlier in the talks. There is still a too low consumption of vegetables, fruits and berries, and intake of sugar is too high, and so on. But Sapere method is a practical method, and it's been tested in very many countries in a successful way. It's a chemist already in the 70s who developed it, and the Latin word means to know, to feel, to taste, to become brave. And I think this is a very good some kind of viewpoint you could take, that the child is a brave person. I mean, perhaps we should be brave and test the insects, but the braveness is an issue here. So there is the child is involved in planning the menus, and we are considering how he or she learns, and what is the importance of food in the daily life. And finger eating and colors and all those can be done. So it's a cooperation between teachers, catering staff, and nutritionists. So possibility to learn, this is the issue in Sapere method. Then I have some tips for cities and communities for promoting healthy nutrition. Finnish schools have taken children along to plan the school menus. And of course, if they have been, participation is an issue. If you have been involved, then you feel that this is my issue. So I encourage schools to take along children. City of Turku organized last year for the first time this kind of open-air dinner party. And what the city did was to let people know the time and places, took some chairs and tables. There were hundreds of people in different places of the city. They brought their own food, they brought their own salads, they brought their own knives and forks, and the sun was shining. It was a late summer evening. This kind of happenings which bring people together, it's good for your mental health also. So From the city, it only needed the courage to organize it, and of course to make sure that everything was safe and clean afterwards. But this was really very nice event in open air. Then, of course, cities, together with organizations and associations, there can be cooking classes organized. For example, we have local associations who are organizing cooking classes for unemployed people. And of course, unemployed people, it's also a way of gathering and having some nice activities in your daily rhythm. So very simple thing. Cooking classes needed and somebody to run the classes, and some marketing, of course. Investment in local products, of course, is really clever for cities, and this is clever for our societies, for our economy, but it's also good for our health. City of Turku this year has taken vegetable boxes to different city districts. They have 300 boxes, wooden boxes, and they took some planting. What is the word? Where you could plant, and then individual people or groups could announce that, okay, I'm taking care of the box in this park, and they could also propose where the boxes should be set. And it's a try. Nothing has come up yet, but people have been really enthusiastic about growing their own vegetable in the center of the city. Libraries can lend Nordic walking sticks. Libraries are not just for lending books. They can also lend bicycles or walking sticks, and they can promote the healthy lifestyle, active and healthy lifestyle in other means than just lending the books. In our local elderly care center, we have very good local small restaurants run by private chefs. They invited private chefs to elderly care homes, and it was a wonderful experience. I mean, it's not the same meal which is served, but there were some new tastes and some really fine dining in elderly care. I think this is a clever idea and really pleasant idea too. It doesn't just have to be singing classes, but it can be really making a party and inviting chefs to elderly care. And allowing these local events, of course, it means that you have to, I mean, our local Finnish Food Safety Authority has loosened a bit the regulations. Of course, if you serve food and if you eat food and if you invite friends, it's your responsibility what you serve, but the authorities can also loosen a bit, and they have done so in Finland, their restrictions. You can organize picnic concerts in open air, and you can open up the facilities and the parks to people. Restaurant Day is a Finnish social innovation. It has been ongoing several years now. This is my daughter, who is a scout, cooking with scouts equipment, and people like Restaurant Day a lot. So you can check more about it in the internet. But it's also bringing people possibility to taste new foods, and people can also get some small money when they serve food during the Restaurant Day. We heard already about WHO recommendations, but the sugar recommendations really are fairly strict. 10% of the total energy intake daily, and optimally 5%. There is a double burden in our societies in the world. There is malnutrition in large parts of the world, and then many of our nations are overweight. So I think it's an ethical issue that these two can be together still in life. And really, I mentioned this, that is it the immigrants who are at risk, or is it us who are at risk? Our lifestyle is not healthy enough. My favorite author is Jan Kross. I have read all his books. The last one I read was Kolme katku vahel, because it in Finnish had 1,210 pages. But Baltasar Rusko, of course, in the 1560s, what did he eat? His lifestyle was Well, we can think if it was healthier. It was healthier that the sugar intake was not the one we have today. But he was eating a lot of vegetables, some meat, wheat and barley, and of course beer was consumed then. The food was very salty, so in that sense we have become healthier. One could ask about eating issues that why have we stopped eating together? What happened to us? Why have we stopped enjoying food? Why do we make it a problematic case and a trouble? So these are things for the Western European people, I think, that we have to think about these issues. What can be nicer? This is also a photo of the open air happening in Turku, that you are eating together. And my husband had a friend visiting us 2 weeks ago, and actually he visited dentist in our hometown, and he lives in Tampere, so he took a train to visit the dentist. This happens, I don't know if it happens in Estonia, but he's a mental health patient, a former journalist, and I cooked him on 2 evenings. I have never had, for the last some years, such a happy guest in our kitchen than a lonely man who could eat potatoes and broiler meat together with us. This is perhaps something we could think of, that why couldn't we invite once in a month somebody lonely to share our food, share our table. I have Polish co-workers, and they say that in Poland, in Christmas dinner, they always set an extra plate for if somebody would knock on the door. But then there has been a survey that would people really welcome that extra person. But I think this is a very nice thought, that we could welcome extra people to our daily dinner tables. So what I wish you really is happy meals in the summer. And the message is that normal days are the key. And one has to remember the colors, the tastes, the physical activity. And of course, there are the experts who choose meals to city residents mainly, and the parents choose the meal to their children. And there is very big responsibility in making these choices in a clever way. And I'm really promoting that we are not planning for people, but we have the participatory approach, that we are planning things in nutrition with people. Thank you very much.